Hello, everybody out there on YouTube land, and for everybody who's come here. Alright, today we're just gonna review perspective again, and I'm gonna answer as many questions as I can. Yeah, I'll be reviewing mostly like simple 1 and 2 point stuff, and totally not messing up the tricks that I was trying to teach from the other times. I'm done with messing it up. I'm done with screwing it up. No more of that. So whenever you're drawing something, you want to make sure that you're setting up a correct perspective. Probably the best way to do it is via a thumbnail. So you take your big sheet of paper, and you're doing this so that you can mark off a bunch of spaces outside of it to keep track of your perspective stuff. And you might change like colors and stuff to keep track of things. Like maybe you want a red point there and a green point there. Now first we want to decide where our horizon line is. So maybe make it down there for an upshot? No, let's make it up here for a down shot. There we go. And then if we want single, I'm going to do this in a couple different colors. Let me switch over to my real pencil here. Alright. So let's say that I wanted to do a 2-point perspective. So I'll get like a red dot there and a green dot there. So a horizon line and a 2 points, you can set it up for 2-point perspective. You can also set it up for a single point perspective from these two establishing points. Mainly what you have to do is figure out you wanna figure out where points from these two meet approximately. So let's make another line here before I go on and do that. And we're going to do it at about the center. So we're going to bisect this. So I'll click and bring a line straight down. And then along this line, there's only one point where this point and this point, lines from that will meet here at approximately 90 degrees. So let me see if I can find that. Alright. This is going to be a little bit trial and error here, but we'll see if this works. Oh, go away, other screen. I don't need you right now. Alright, now that's definitely not a 90-degree angle. Let's try again. We want it just a little more. Yeah. And the way I did this is yet again messing it up. But because it's straight, it looks like it's straight down the center from both points, but maybe not. Okay, so if this angle is not perfectly cut in half, right? If we did cut it perfectly in half, it might end up looking something a little more like that. And so, because the vanishing points are different distances from here and here versus here and there, yeah, this line's a little bit longer than that one, I think. But yeah. So if we perfectly bisect that, we end up with a point right up here. I'm going to mark that one purple. And that one could be our single point perspective vanishing point from a 2-point perspective. Because I found this spot right here, which I'm going to mark it yellow. I'm going to mark it yellow, and we're going to call this our magic spot. Magic spot. Right there. And the special thing about the magic spot is it represents where your viewer is, or where your camera is, where it's standing. So it's kind of, you have to imagine that, like, in perspective, this is the point on which you're standing and looking at this square is the picture plane. This is the thumbnail that's the plan for our drawing later. But yeah. So the special thing about the magic spot is that you can find new consistent vanishing points for things that have 90-degree angles by using a ruler. So if you set up a ruler, let's see here. See if I can set up a concentric circle or a guide. Maybe I can set up a guide. That's right there. That's right there. Okay. Maybe I don't want that though. But I do want something that meets here. We're gonna put, oh wait, that's not working. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that this is going more or less straight up, and then this one is going more or less exactly that way. And then if we can use our object selection to select both of these rulers, we can, whoops, and we can rotate them. Looks like they're rotating about the center, but that's okay. Then we can move them, and any 45-degree angle that we've drawn, we can find two completely new vanishing points by placing those at the magic spot. So now here we've got something that's so far away that would go off of our paper, but it's okay. Alright, I'm gonna tell these things not to snap for a sec, because otherwise they'll snap to the ruler. But anyway, since this is more or less a 45-degree angle line, we can find two new vanishing points, and every single thing that is drawn to these two new vanishing points, so one's right here, so let me mark this one, I'm gonna mark this one, these ones orange. So like, there's one here, and then there's another one that's like way out there, but it's okay. Anything that is drawn to these, excuse me, anything that is drawn to these vanishing points will be rotated and keep correct perspective according to this spot. So, and according to the rest of your picture. So yeah, that's really neat, the things that we can do. Alright, so let's see if we can, so now that I've got this kind of set up, I can actually set up some really cool things. So let me switch back to a red pencil, and we are going to lay down, we're going to lay down an object in 2-point perspective, using what we've already got. So that's going to go back there. That's going to go back there. And then I'll switch back to the green pencil. That's going to go back there. And then from this corner, that's going to go back there to that point. And we can repeat that wherever along this point, let's say right here. And we'll pull that back there. And then this can go down. This can go straight down. All of our verticals will go straight up and down because we haven't established a third vanishing point. So this is not a vanishing point here. This is our magic spot. So we got vanishing points along our horizon line, and we got our magic spot. So this is still 2-point perspective. So say we got one there. We're going to pull that one back there. And then this one will be a new vertical. And then we have a box in 2-point perspective. And then if we wanted to draw something rotated to our single point perspective that is consistent with where this thing is, I'm going to switch back to purple here. So we can have a box next in proximity to this one. And since we're facing it straight on, its vanishing points are going to be back here. And it looks like the way that we've drawn it. Yeah, so we've placed it to a point where you're not going to be able to see much of the side there. But yeah. So then we've got two potential boxes that exist on the same plane that are rotated to different oriented vanishing points. So yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So let's go to our orange one, right? So we're gonna make a line. We're gonna make a new one right here. This is a new 2-point perspective image. So we know our two are right there. And then our one is like somewhere along the line, but it's all the way out there, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to find some arbitrary unit of length that fits. And I'm going to say, let's see here. I'm going to pull up. Oh, it's only showing. I want to show that in all layers actually, because I'm placing this elsewhere. Alright, we want to find somehow, here's probably an easy way to do this. We want to find a point along, so since our vanishing point is going to be way off the side of the page, and like I could alter my page to make more space for it, but if you don't want to do that, and I frequently don't want to do that, you can take a line from the horizon line down to this point. This is the rotated point that we're talking about here. And we can just kind of bisect and bisect and bisect again. Keeping those spaces as equal as possible. Right, so now we've got a range of lines right here. And then we do that at some other point along this line. Let's say right here. We draw another one, drop another one straight down. And we do essentially the same thing. Bisect right here, right there, and right there. And now we've got lines that are entirely consistent with this one, right? And we can draw a line from there to there, and a line from here to here, and a line from here to here. And these are ones that are going to be consistent with the vanishing point that is way off the page. And so that can help us get kind of a guess as to where we should place our lines. So if I'm going to do this from this point out to here, I just got to make sure like that's clearly incorrect, and crossing up there is clearly incorrect. So it's got to be somewhere up in there. Whoops. Make sure I've got this right. And then from this one, gonna do basically the same thing, where you can eyeball it more or less effectively. And so we'll do another straight line down here, and then this one will go back to the vanishing point, and then these right there. And then from this point right here, just go back and make sure that it's in line with the rest of the things, proportional with the rest of it. And there. And if we kind of zoom in on our image here, let me kind of outline everything in black so that we maybe have a better idea of what's going on here. So if I take this one down to, we're going to make sure that these ones are like 50% opacity, right? So, and then I've got a new pencil right here, and I can just go over these objects. And we went over them in different colors, which is nice to keep things sensible, because when you're drawing like a lot of different things in perspective, it can be easy to lose your way, so to speak. Alright. If that one's going straight down, that one's going back up there. Let's kind of meet it right there. And we can do that one to that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And we can see 3 boxes that are on different orientations. And looks like I made them different size, but they're oriented differently, but they can all clearly exist in the same space. So even though they're rotated, they can exist on the same page. And so they're objects that are self-consistent, but also rotated with the rest of it. So if I made a mistake though, let me see one space. Let me try and draw one wrong so that you can kind of see what might happen in that scenario. So if I mix up my vanishing points, like my red one and my green one are my initial established 2-point perspective, and if I grab one, say that like, oh, you know, I'm tired, or I came back to this tomorrow or something like that, and I made a new thing that is using these 2 points as the vanishing points. This object is not necessarily going to be something that fits with the rest of the image. Whoops. No. I don't want to cut an entire layer. Please and thank you. We're going to go back there. And perhaps I've disproven myself, but this is a thing that you kind of don't want to do. Oh yeah, I know why it's consistent. It's consistent because it's coming back to the same horizon line. That's interesting. But yeah, when you're drawing out things, you typically want to keep your things straight. But sometimes you can effectively fake things, and they can turn out looking good anyway, because you're obeying the rules otherwise. So like if I make this thing the entire size and I turn off these layers, we can see some cubes, and they may not be entirely consistent. So like it looks like this one they might not all be sitting on the same ground plane. But yeah, we can draw out bigger. Here, let me do something here. I'm going to swap over. I'm going to swap back here. Those are our orange ones. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to make one big kind of square for these all to rest on. So I'm going to take that one and it's going to be close to there. And then I'll take a green one, draw it from there to here. And then, if I want them all resting on the same spot, I want to come back here. We'll do that. Swap back from the red one. Place that dot right here. And we're going to place that over here. And then I'll come back to this layer and kind of draw that back in black. I'm going to go outside the picture plane this time. Okay, yeah, that actually might work, you know, but you have to see, like, yeah. So we can see that if I've laid out a rectangular mat or something for everything to sit on. So this is kind of like establishing a ground plane for everything to kind of go to. But yeah, let me go back here. Hi Skit, thanks for joining. I'm doing the perspectives again. But yeah, so we've got something that's consistent. This one is aligned. You can see that this box is aligned with the other one that I drew along the same, with the platform, really, that I drew along the same vanishing points. These are inlined. Like this line is parallel to this line. This line is clearly at an angle. It's rotated, so that its vanishing point is still along the same horizon line, but we're looking at it more head-on because it's our vanishing point is on the page and closer to the center. And then this one, its vanishing point is just barely off the page, but it's still self-consistent with the rest of the image because it's, again, these points are going off to the same horizon line vanishing point. And then we've got, this one is kind of out doing its own thing. It's still consistent with the horizon line, so it could be said to fit there, but it's going to be rotated different. Like, so these are all at different rotation orientations, right? So like this one's, this face is facing furthest to the left. This one is facing more. This one is facing even more. And this one's facing the most. Excuse me. This one's facing to the left. This one's facing closer to the center. Closer, closest. But yeah, to just kind of draw lines representing where those things are facing. But yeah. So, and I'm recording all of this, so if you came in and you missed any, it's okay. I'm gonna put them back on. So I reviewed what the magic spot was, and things are looking pretty cool. So yeah, that's so we can establish like a single point perspective drawing, and everything drawn there is going to go back there. So let me see. That's that. I placed my blacks there. Nice and dominant. Nope, that's not the one. That's the one. Let's say we could draw like another box that's facing the camera head on. It's going to have vanishing points at this place. And you're not going to be able to see the top because the top would come from behind and go backwards this way. You wouldn't see the bottom or the other side, so everything is going to be right there along that one edge. And maybe this one's in the distance and it's a lot bigger. We can kind of sense that where we place things is going to affect how they are perceived as well. So yeah, perception perspective. And then we could make an example of something that's above so that we can see, like when you're placing something on the horizon line, you can expect not to see its top or bottom faces. You can see the edges, but not the faces. But if we place something above it, we could potentially nope. Let me go back to the right color. Draw another box here. Just keeping that nice and rectangular. Draw lines back from the corners to the single point vanishing. Single point perspective. And we can make lines across there and there. And then this one's not on the page anymore, but whatever, we're just kind of playing around. And with a little imagination, these boxes can become whatever the heck you want them to be. But yeah, say you wanted to, if you wanted to cut into an object, you could do that. You could do that from a single point perspective. Just kind of draw lines that cut across it right there and there. And then this one going back in perspective a little bit. Right there. Closer to the vanishing point there. But yeah. So if you wanted to draw something self-consistent, this line has to be traced back there. And so it would go down. And then you could come back in with your eraser and then we've cut away a portion of the box. And now we have a more interesting, less 100% box shape, but like it's still boxy, but like, yeah. And then if you wanted to cut into something at a different angle, you could do that as well. And maybe get some interesting results. Shall we try it? Let's try it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Let's cut into this box along the red side. We'll see what happens to this one. This will be interesting. No matter how it turns out. Okay. So I'm going to make a cut across it. Okay, so we have to start from one of the edges here. So I'm going to start right there. I'm going to start right here. Cut that back there. Oh, let me do that on the layer. Alright, right there. I'm going to cut back there. And we can cut forward. Like to there, maybe? I don't know, this will be an interesting result here. I'll take that one back to the vanishing point right there. We will be making a most interesting shape. Okay, I'm going to go back to the purple, because those points are going to be back along here. Alright, and then this one was just like a first point perspective, right? So we'll cut back in there, and that will be from there. But that point, take that back to there. I'm going to take that up there. This will be very interesting. So we make a cut. And so we draw this back here, this up there, this along here, to this face. And then if I were making like a more of a that kind of cut, oh, we cut into it, but I never finished this one. Ah, interesting. Yeah, so we've made a cut into one perspective from another, and I think we kind of broke it, but that's okay. We're gonna get crazy and break things sometimes. But yeah, so you've made a cut into an object on a perspective lens that does not match what it is. So we've got kind of an interesting angle cut into our box now. So there you go. Questions. How does this apply over extremely flat planes? Like if you're in a small room looking from the door and you want to draw the windows. How does this apply over extremely flat planes? Small room looking from the door, you want to draw the windows. Okay, whoops, sorry. Okay, let me do away with this, let me do away with these bits right here. We'll come in. I'll do a new one. I'll lay down a new one real quick here. Alright. So let's say we're approximately from the same horizon line. We're going to look through from this horizon line. Alright. And then we've got... Oh. That's... Oh. Haha. Okay. Alright. Let me bring this back here. We're going to make this more straight and proper. Okay. Alright, so our we'll be looking through a doorway, right? So say that we're taking this from like a first person perspective or something like that. Let's see here. We had our two, I drew them to our two vanishing points, so they're right there and right there. So if you're from a first person perspective looking through a door, you're going to be kind of looking up at the top of the frame. So that line's going to come in through up here. Let's cut that up right there. And then from a two, this is going to be like a 2-point perspective where we're looking through like a doorway of some type. And then the corner from there is going to go back to this direction. And we're going to see kind of the inside of the doorway. Because we're looking at it at kind of we're looking at it from kind of a weird angle. But like, we're going to draw this one down. And let's say we draw like a door frame around it. So this I'm kind of eyeballing, but whatever. Alright, so door frame's going up and out of the picture plane. And we're looking into a room, right? This room could be anything. But since we're standing right there and looking through the doorway, things are gonna be pretty close. So we can cut in through here, and this is gonna be, we're gonna be looking down into the room, sort of. So let's say this is gonna be kind of a big looking room, maybe. We're looking through a doorway. Into a room with like a couch or something. There we go. That one's got to go up, but this one is going to come down and through there. Okay. And then this one is going to come back through here, and we never drew the top here, so it's going to come in through there and across to that point, and that point's going to go straight down. Yeah, there we go. I'm placing something down to kind of get a sense of where things might be. So we're going to be looking at something from a corner. These lines aren't important, they've served their purpose. Okay, but say that this was pushed to the corner of the room, then it would be, well, then it would extend from that corner. Maybe that would be useful to not erase. Haha. Okay. You're going to be looking up, and that is, nope, we're going to bring that even further up, because that's going to be more above, that's going to be obscured. But that's okay. And then our room can be so big. There's a corner, right? And then if we wanted to draw a window, we could draw just a line straight up and down, say this is where our window's going to be on. So, and since it's on this side of the room, it's going to have vanishing points that go back that way. So that one's going to go up, and then this one's going to go down. There we go. And we got kind of a corner window here. So that's going to go those are both gonna, those are where that's gonna be. And since this is inset right there, it looks like those are aligned. They probably shouldn't be. But whatever. So we're coming in and we'll say, this is the end of our window. And we're getting kind of a lot of confusing lines here, so let me switch to black and try and make sense of everything. So we've got our doorway. Maybe I'll just reinforce our picture plane too, so that when we turn stuff off it will still make sense. Alright, so that's going up there. This is going up there. This is coming down here. This is going there, there, bring it down, there. And then if we're staring into, I'm just going to draw the room right now with the window. And our window's going to be a bit off from the wall. So that's going to be there. But since this window is high, it's going to have like a little tilt up. And then we'll go back down here, back up there. And then this one will be, there'll be like a tiny inset here. And like a small windowsill or something like that. Let's say that there's like a frame around the window is going to look something like this. So then we're looking into a room with a window. So like this would be like a corner perspective, like, yeah, things are kind of bizarre there. I don't know, maybe something's broken. Maybe it's not. It just looks a little weird to me. So let me turn this off and see what it looks like. We're looking down and into our room and we're sharing a ground floor plane. It looks like that floor is way too high if we're going to be looking through a doorway. That floor might come down all the way. If we got some decorative wallpaper or something going on here. There we go. Okay, we've opened up the floor a lot. Yeah, I'd have to carry out that the kind of logic of the perspective to say exactly where the floor would be. That floor, having the floor up that high doesn't make any sense from where our perspective is. It might go down all the way to, we might not be able to see it. But yeah, through a doorway, through a window. Planes that would stretch out far beyond the canvas. Oh. Well, I don't know. I think I might not be sure that I understood the question all the way, but like there's, you know, you can draw things within things, and you know, whenever you're laying out something technically, if ever you're like laying out a room technically, it might be good to do like a diagram. So if I was drawing a diagram from this, I'd say this wall looks fairly close, and this doorway. So we've got a doorway. I'm gonna just do this in a orthogonal type of thing, just really quick. So we're looking through a doorway. We don't see anything there, but like, we'll go. That wall looks relatively near. And so If we're looking through it from here, we'll see a window about up here? Something like that? We could look through the doorway and see both. We could look through this doorway and see both the very exterior of the doorway and the entirety of this window. Yeah, that looks too low to the ground. It's seeming that our window might be like even up here, because it's just so far off the ground in the picture. Maybe that's a better representation of it. We just kind of draw an orthogonal box. An idea for our room or whatever. I wasn't taking perspective into consideration when doing this orthogonal view. It's just some off there. But yeah, that looks fairly high. And then because we're looking up this way, we would eventually see the ceiling. Or perhaps that corresponds to where the ceiling would be. But yeah, that's fairly high up, and we're in a down shot. So like if I was going to replicate the lines there, they would be more like this along the wall. Something like that. Got a rather high window there. This can be another good way of like thinking stuff out, a perspective scene or whatever, is just kind of making a diagram. And this is like, you know, just a simple orthogonal diagram of a space. But if our goal was to look through like this doorway, then through that window, we could do that. It's possible. And then there could be like another window out here. I don't know. It's I don't know what I'm doing there. But like you could go 100% fractal and put windows in windows in windows. Currently working on a piece that requires 5 point and it comes out a bit wonky. Yeah. Yeah, no, in order to give like some real sense of depth and space, like where you're placing your view matters, and how you lay out your room matters. But yeah. So perspectives with more than 2 points. We're working on a piece that requires 5 points. Okay. So are you talking... If you could link the picture that you're working on, it would give me a better idea of what you're talking about. But when I think about 5 point perspective, let me just go in here. When I think about 5 point perspective, I'm thinking of a curvilinear perspective. So we're talking about a field of view that's circular. I'm gonna do it better. I can do a better circle. Okay, good enough. It's a little flat and squishy, but whatever. We'll get our point across. When I'm thinking about 5 point perspective, I'm thinking of a fisheye lens, basically, where you've got a vanishing points here, 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 and here in the center. So something that went off to, and then your lines would have to kind of curve and arc off of these. So if we wanted to make a box that we were looking down at, we would kind of arc this, and then we could draw another slightly less curved arc. And we're going to have an arc here, going from top to bottom, and then another one there. And so we start to draw the face of a box. And if it's going back into perspective, it's going to have stuff shooting off there. And then that's going to be another arc potentially. And then this is going to go back there. So that's going to point to that. But then this will be like another very subtle arc. That's what I think of when I'm thinking of 5-point perspective. If you were referring to something else, yeah, something seen from a fisheye lens. So like this is a box, right? And all of the rules of perspective still apply, but since we have to apply them all in the same space, we have to apply arcs rather than straight lines. So we've got an arc going down here that defines this face is curving, that face is curving. Basically everything is that's not going to the central vanishing point is curving. But yeah, so say I wanted to extend that box, you know, it would continue going along these lines, and then there would be something arcing from there. And this is not perfect, it's kind of like a sketch. If you wanted to do it like super perfect, you could get out a compass or something similar. You know, but point being, your lines are going to be a lot more curvy. Especially your verticals and your horizontals, and your depth stuff is usually going to be receding back here, unless it too is rotated. You know, if I'm doing an arc like that, it would be very. But yeah, we start talking about a very extreme form of perspective. But yeah, this edge would be curved. That would be going back up to that point. You see how everything that's receding into depth is going back to this perspective point. I'm just kind of reinforcing that idea right now. So you've got perspective point up and down, but yeah. So that's what I'm usually talking about when 5-point perspective. It was supposed to be a sphere, a lowered upward stretching horizon. Well, it's ambitious. Let me open that up and put it on our canvas so people can see what we're talking about potentially. What have we got going on here? So there are things that are stretched way up, and there are things that are below. This is looking like it would introduce a lot of distortion. A lowered upward stretching horizon. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. And it seems like you're trying to draw a creature of some sort, right? Snake is supposed to be stretching above the perspective line, the whole thing is supposed to be bulging towards the observer. Yeah, in a fisheye lens, you're kind of having the opposite effect of well, how would I fix this problem? Well, I do want it in a sphere, so I'm trying to conceive of like a creature. We're putting it in a fisheye perspective, a 5-point perspective. So we're going this way and that way, right? And so, okay. So what you have to remember, so we have to remember our orientations, right? So we're talking about quite a couple different things. So this point, let me mark this out in different colors. This point is our center vanishing point. And these are directions that we're talking about here. So let's, for the sake of ease, call this north. In here I'm gonna mark those two. Those two are gonna be east and west, and then green ones are gonna be actually those are not gonna be, so these are not north and south anymore, they're up and down. Up and down. So in a 5-point perspective, yeah, it's not quite getting that effect, because in a 5-point perspective, anything that you're looking at from here to here, you're going to be looking up at, and from here to here, you're going to be looking down at. So you're looking up at something that is looking back down at you. Trying to make this make sense. And then you're looking down at a big ol' creature or whatnot, right? But then you've got everything that's stretching off like this way and that way. So like here we've got a more than, so if we think of just like a regular compass rose, I'm sorry, I hope this is not detracting too much, but like so if we look at a normal compass rose, right, we know that a circle contains 360 degrees, and then between here and here is going to be 90 degrees of field of vision, and then here and here is going to be the same. So in a 5-point perspective, you're trying to create a 180 degree field of vision. So like this bulging thing is the same as this, and it's never going to see south because we're pointed directly at north. If we're trying to draw like our creature in like a box, we're going to have to use the arcs again. These are not extremely accurate, but that's a little bit better, and that's a little bit better. The box that contains this creature is much bigger than what I'm drawing. But it's got vanishing points right there, and right there, and right there. The box that you're trying to contain this creature in is basically your entire front perspective. So it would be surrounding this. If you're drawing. If you're drawing it there. I don't know, this is ambitious and it's advanced, and I'm not even sure I have the answer to that one. Trying to figure it out is an interesting exercise, though. Drawing a box that goes that way, that way, that way. This would be the inside of a box. It's really weird inside of a box, but it starts to surround. No, I think the idea is neat. And if you're trying to create a sense of being surrounded by this monster, I think there's a good way to do that. But we have to try and understand where exactly the monster is in this perspective. Yeah, and I'm not sure that a 5-point perspective is necessarily great for making a person feel surrounded. Because what we're doing is we're condensing their field of, we're condensing a huge field of vision onto a flat plane. You know, this is just a 2D drawing that we're trying to accomplish, right? So anytime that you're compressing, and I'm kind of squeezing my hands together, anytime that you're compressing that field of vision, you're introducing distortions that make things warped and kind of small. So I'm not sure that a 5-point perspective is the best, is a great way to introduce a gigantic monster. Although I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of that, but that's an interesting experiment, like what you're trying to do, and it's ambitious, and like I appreciate that. You got gusto. Yeah. Well, anyways, I've been going at this for about an hour and 4 minutes now. I'm gonna give myself kind of a rest. Interesting challenge. You've made for yourself there. If you can figure it out, I'd love to see it. I might take a crack at it one day myself. I don't know. That does sound interesting, but yeah. And maybe if I figure out more about like what I'm talking about, I can come back to you with a better idea of like what exactly to do in that scenario. But yeah, you're making a lot of things seem fairly small. If I'm surrounded, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap up. I'm gonna hit end on the recording for YouTube. If you liked it, do the YouTube things. Thanks for watching. Bye to YouTube.